How you like that? You gon' like that? Da 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 da. You like that? Bada bing, bada boom, boom, boom. How you like that? Da 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 da. Now, look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. How you like that? Now, look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. How you like that?
Hey y'all, Sherry G. Welcome back to the channel. So look, I know that Melody and Martell, they've been trending, right? That whole interview that Martell did with Tasha K, everyone's talking about it everywhere. It's a hot topic. It's a hot topic because I believe, anyway, in my opinion, it's a hot topic because what we saw in that interview, what we saw in those video clips is just like unbelievable and believable at the same time, because there are many of us, when I saw the videos, it actually brought back some memories from my past, a whole lifetime ago. But I'm sure there are many people who can relate to that. And then there are people who couldn't relate to it. You know, when it comes to the videos, there are some people who actually, when they saw Mel in those videos, they felt as though she was just as aggressive as Martell, just as abusive as Martell, and that they're both toxic. I'm going to give my opinions about this because I don't see it that way at all. I feel, though, that the situation itself was very toxic. The household was toxic. There's some good moments probably in that household, but a lot of very toxic moments as well. I don't see her as abusive. I don't see her being on the same, level as Martell when it comes to being an aggressor and things like that. What we saw coming from her was her reaction. And to me, those two are they're just not the same. They're just not the same. But I feel like a lot of people come from their experiences. And so some people, both my parents are aggressive. No, they're not. One of your parents is the aggressor. The other one is trying to protect themselves. And unfortunately, they're using aggression because they feel like their back is up against the wall. But anyway, y'all keep in mind that the views I express in this video, it's my opinion. It's alleged, and everything is for fair use and all of that jazz. But anyway, I feel like when we saw the videos, those of us who saw the videos, I'm not going to say anything about the interview itself because that interview was disgusting. It was just disgusting. And it just showed even more how demonic, demented, vile, and dark Martell Holt is, in my opinion. And I don't even know how Tasha K could stomach doing this interview with him. But anyway, I do want to talk about the videos that have been surfacing, those little video clips. And I feel that in each one of those clips, I could just feel that Melody had reached her breaking point. And this is what happens when someone who is abused, they eventually come to a breaking point and lash out at their abuser in return. And that is what is known as reactive abuse. So it's like this type of abuse, it occurs when someone who's been abused begins to defend themselves by responding to the abuse with physical or verbal attacks. And we actually heard Melody say on more than one occasion that she doesn't start anything, but she responds. She doesn't start anything, but she reacts. So when I saw those video clips, I mean, just listening to what was going on, the little bit that we heard, I could tell that she was responding or reacting to something that Martell had instigated. You know, it's like when someone, well, just to explain the dynamics of reactive abuse, it's like if someone is being physically or verbally abused, it's like their fight or flight response kicks in to help them protect themselves. So a lot of times the victim, if they're unable to flee, they might fight back against their abuser by attacking them physically or verbally. They might even resort to yelling, screaming, insulting that person, or even assaulting their abuser. But the two are not the same. They're not the same. But for the person, the victim, it can be problematic, or it can kind of work against them because their abuser might actually try to use it as leverage against them. And that's what we saw in those video clips. That's why we only saw one part of the video, right? When she was reacting, he took out his phone and started recording. Yeah, that's what we saw with Martell. He instigated the pestilence, and then when she starts reacting to paint her as the aggressor, he just video recorded her in action. And, you know, like, it's like he now wants to play the victim. He wants to play the victim instead of the perpetrator. So, yeah, a lot of times in these type of situations, that's what happens. The abuser, now the perpetrator, wants to now claim that they are actually the victim, or they might even say that the abuse is mutual. They might even claim, like Martell was claiming, to be the wounded party. And, you know, he's trying to use all of these instances to prove that he has actually been abused instead of the other way around. That's exactly what we saw. I mean, it's not coincidental to me that he was on ready with his phone, ready to record her responding. He knew what to do to make Melody pop off. It's like a manipulation tactic, a way to justify their abuse, control their victims, or keep them from leaving or speaking about the abuse. And that's just what I feel like has been going on with Melody and Martell, especially in those instances that we saw recorded, those instances that he tried to use to prove that he is the actual victim, to try to paint Melody as this mean, vile, disgusting person. And to the people who think that the two are the same, they're just not the same. It's just, if you took an animal and backed it into the corner, that animal is going to react. It's going to lash out. It's going to lunge at you. It's going to bite you. It's going to scratch you. It'll start, growling at you first. But yeah, it's going to react. And that's what is happening with Melody and Martell. And I'm not here to try to change anybody's mind either. I'm just here to just try to break it down, like what we saw. And this is just based on my own experience, because I've been in this position before. And like I said, when I saw the videos, like, there's situations that had happened in my life that I totally forgot about. And I'm like, man, because they were such a lifetime ago. Like I said, my current husband now, and I will be married like 40 years in July. So, and we've not experienced any of these things because I'm not aggressive. But I would have been painted that way many moons ago, in another whole lifetime ago, because I was reacting to situations. I was reacting to things. I was reacting to, anyway, y'all, just know that I could relate. And I totally forgot. I didn't even know, like, when I saw those things, like, I sat with it later and I'm like, what is coming up for me? Because I felt such a strong emotion to it. And then I started remembering. So anyway, y'all, like I said, Martell's whole game was to try to prove to us that Melody was abusive. And so everything was one-sided, right? And as far as Melody, I don't believe that we'll hear from her in regards to this, at least not right now. We know that she's very strategic in how she moves, and she doesn't respond to things like this right away. And when she does respond, she's going to come back, and she's going to come back hard, and she's going to come back with a lot of solid evidence, and she's going to come back and help us really put the pieces together. Although I feel like for the majority of us, we've already put the pieces together without seeing anything from her, because we know what this is. We recognize exactly what Martell has done, which further proves to those of us who do understand just how diabolical he really is. And so, like I said, the interview aside, just those video clips right there proves to me even more how dark of a person he is. And for him to say that he's a good father, why would you put information out like that to try to discredit your ex-wife if you cared about your children? I mean, you might not even give 2 cents about Melody, but if you cared about your children, you wouldn't do that, because you wouldn't want that out there, because you know they're going to eventually see it. They're going to be embarrassed. They're going to feel some type of way. And unfortunately, in this situation, I feel like that too is going to backfire against Martell. I feel like he won't be able to explain it to the children because, again, they've lived in that household. And when they hear the part about Martell saying that, Melody tried to have the children taken away or turned him in for, abuse towards one of the children, that child actually spoke to the courts. The court isn't just going to take the word of the mother against the father. And of course, she's going to report it if there was something there that just wasn't right. So allegedly, the son had, I think he was bleeding from his head. Something happened to his head. And Melody asked about that. What mother wouldn't? And of course, she did probably report that. I believe she would have been the one to report that. And the courts are going to ask the child. They're going to ask the children. And that is why he couldn't see them for 56 days, because allegedly, as I remember, he was supposed to go through some type of anger management or something in the course of those 56 days so that he could resume his visitation with the children. So anyway, y'all, I just wanted to just come here really, really quickly and just, give my insight on what I saw in those videos, especially, like I said, the interview itself did nothing to help Martell, and I already knew that it was going to go bad for him. I already felt like it was going to go bad for him. And looking at the comments, over at the Neighborhood Talk, all of the different social media outlets, all over IG, here on YouTube, majority of the comments, even people who don't really watch this show or people who don't really necessarily like Melody, or people who are just unbiased for the most part, they have all been ripping this man apart. And it's well deserved. Of course, there are the few who just don't see it. Like I said earlier in this video, there are a few who feel like, yeah, well, she's just as aggressive as he is. And yeah, they're both abusive. And they're coming from their vantage point. That's their reality. But for those of us who understand what's going on, who understand what we saw in those videos, we know and we knew that she was just reacting. So anyway, y'all, that's all I have for you. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. I will be back. Until then, ciao.
How you like that?